Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the live stream here on the channel. Welcome Pete, Caleb, and Catman so far, and as well as everyone else who is just watching, may not be chatting. Glad to have you in here as well. Let me just double check, and I think we are good to go. I'll go ahead and switch on over to our main scene. We're going to be discussing the potential for or actually not the potential, we're going to be discussing a winter storm that will be ongoing in portions of the U.S. tonight into all day of tomorrow and even into a very early Sunday morning. We'll also discuss the potential for multiple other snowstorms in much of the United States as we go through the rest of the early portion of February, and as well as towards the middle of February. We'll be seeing a lot of winter storm potential, as you saw in the background whilst I was starting. GFS has a lot of snowstorms being possible all the way out until the 21st of February, where the model run ends at the moment. So let's go ahead and start with some official products. This is going to be Radar Omega, but we're taking a look here out in North Dakota, where we have winter storm warnings out currently from southwestern North Dakota into southeastern North Dakota. Also, winter weather advisories, no longer winter storm watches. They've been downgraded to the winter weather advisories now out here in much of northern South Dakota, much of Minnesota, much of central northern Wisconsin, into portions of Michigan, much of Pennsylvania, almost all of Pennsylvania under those winter weather advisories, almost all of New Jersey under those winter weather advisories, most of Delaware, Maryland, and Northern Virginia also under those winter weather advisories. The only areas where we now have winter storm watches is really going to be up here in the far New England states. We actually have winter storm warnings that are just now being issued. These were literally watches, like, I don't even know, probably 10 minutes ago. They were winter storm watches, so they're just now issuing those winter storm warnings for portions of New York, and that will continue to push to the north as well as towards the east as we approach this snowstorm going into, for this portion of the New England states, it will be for very, very late tomorrow night into very early Sunday morning, where you guys see these winter storm conditions. So for far western Massachusetts, they're calling for between 6 to 10 inches of snowfall. Out here in southeastern New York, they're calling for 5 to 7 inches of snowfall. Out here for Boston, they're calling for between 5 to 8 inches of snowfall. So we should see a very large area of 5 to 8 inches of snowfall, with some isolated areas up to 9 and 10 inches of snowfall in much of this area I have circled here. Outside of that area, so for instance, back up here in like like the Twin Cities area in Minnesota, we're going to see widespread 4 to 6 inches of snowfall with some isolated areas potentially as high as 7 inches of snowfall, but not really getting up to that 8 or 9 inch mark to actually warrant those winter storm warnings anymore up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, or South Dakota. That's why those winter storm watches were downgraded to winter weather advisories. Hello, Alt, A, and B, and Craig. Glad to see you guys all in here. So let's go ahead and dive on into some model data. We're going to use Radar Omega since we're talking about a very close range winter storm here. And we're going to use the HRRR 18Z model run from earlier this afternoon. So currently we're starting to see this winter storm begin in portions of North Dakota, South Dakota, as well as Montana and northwestern Wyoming. Some snow beginning in those areas. That will slowly begin to intensify tonight, and then it should quite quickly intensify as we get into your afternoon hours tomorrow. So this is going towards 11 a.m., noon, 1 p.m. About 1 p.m. to noon tomorrow, we'll begin to see this winter storm probably rapidly intensify over portions of Michigan into Ontario. And then by the time it gets into the New England states around 6, 7 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow, that's when this winter storm should be more of a classic looking winter storm where we have a very large area of very heavy snow all the way from southwestern Maine through much of the New England states here. It is pretty small scale. It's not a very widespread snowstorm. But it's definitely going to end up being one of our more impactful snowstorms out here for portions of eastern Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. That's some areas that have, I believe, missed out on snow, overall good snowfall, around the realms of 8 to 10 inches of snowfall. You guys really haven't had any snowstorms like that this year. I think this one will be able to make a run for up to 10 inches of snowfall in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. So we'll see. We'll see if they up those forecasts or keep them or what. I don't know. That may be new winter storm warnings being issued right there, 5 to 7 inches of snow. I feel like that wasn't there just a minute ago when we started. I'm going to go back in our live stream. Was that there? Yes, it was. I just didn't see it. Apparently it was there. I just didn't see it, because it was so far to the southern portion of Connecticut. And yeah, by the time we get into noon Sunday afternoon, this winter storm will be out of here. The main portion of your snowfall will be exiting portions of far eastern Massachusetts, probably around 7 a.m. Sunday morning. So this has really turned into a complete overnight event out here. Overnight tomorrow night in much of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and southern New Hampshire. You guys are really going to see your snow primarily after 10 p.m., all the way from 10 p.m. tomorrow night, all the way till about 5, 6 a.m. Sunday morning. So really an overnight event for you guys out there. In terms of snowfall totals, this is the official National Weather Service forecast for the next, what is this, like the next 30 some hours. These actually have gone up since I last looked at it. Originally, when I looked at it earlier today, they were forecasting 7 inches of snow. They've actually put that up to 9.5 inches of snowfall, just barely north of Boston, Massachusetts there for their official forecast. Much of Massachusetts will see 7 to 10 inches of snowfall. Most of southern New Hampshire will see 7 to 8 inches of snowfall. Most of Vermont, central southern Vermont, will see 7 to 9 inches of snowfall. And a good chunk of, especially central New York, will see up to 10 inches of snowfall as well. Those lake effect areas here, that's where we're going to have your greatest chance for heaviest snowfall. Could see up to 1.5 feet in portions of, what is this, like Hastings, New York, well to the south of Watertown, New York. Could see up to 18 inches of snowfall there. Outside of the New England states, out here for like Michigan, where those winter weather advisories are, really going to see widespread 4 to 6 inches of snowfall, some isolated areas up to 7, especially where we could see a little bit of extra lake effect snow from about Traverse City down towards maybe like south of Frankfort out there in northwestern Michigan. And out here in Wisconsin, much of the same, widespread 4 to 6 inches of snowfall, isolated areas up to 8 inches of snowfall. Same goes for much of central Minnesota, widespread 4 to 6 inches of snowfall, isolated areas up to 8 inches of snowfall, specifically in and around far west central Minnesota, no longer really looking like the Twin Cities will see anything more than about 5 inches of snowfall. That heavier band will probably be off to your north. And same goes for southern North Dakota. Going to be looking at probably widespread 6 to 8 inches of snowfall out here, with the potential of up to 8.5 9 inches of snowfall in some spots south of Jamestown, North Dakota. All right, I want to go over to College of DuPage really quick here. So this is going to be looking at your long-term pattern in terms of the greatest opportunity for snowstorms beyond our snowstorm tomorrow. Probably going to end up being right in this corridor here. I believe this corridor right here will have the greatest opportunity for snowstorms after this one. So we should see a snowstorm from Monday, February 10th, all the way until the 13th, which is Thursday there. We'll continue to just see a pattern that will be favorable for winter storms. Probably 2, maybe 3 winter storms in that time frame there will be possible. It looks like this one, it's partially 2. You can see the first one. This is like the first portion of this winter storm. And then as we go into Tuesday afternoon, we get a second portion of your winter storm. So that's technically just one large winter storm there for Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia. And then our technically second winter storm here, Wednesday, February 12th. A little bit more to the north. I think that's going to be more towards your Midwestern United States and Central Plains, and maybe into the New England states where you could get a snowstorm out of that system on February 12th. Not going to really mention much about snow totals because it is pretty far out. We'll look at the mean accumulation on the GFS ensembles in just a second. And that does continue well into the New England states here on the GFS model. And then after that, going into February 15th, we'll probably see another big snowstorm. I don't know exactly where. Let's see how consistent this has been. Yeah, not very consistent on the exact location with the winter storm on the 15th of February. So just generally somewhere in this region, we'll watch for the potential of a winter storm on February 16th or 15th and 16th. I'm not going to go further out. That's already 220 hours out on the GFS. I'm not going to look at the pattern after that. We'll look at it for fun, but this is don't take this as something that may happen. I don't know what it's going to show. It really doesn't show anything crazy in Fantasyland. That's a little bit surprising there. But that's really, really far out, so don't want to listen beyond about 240 hours out on any model run. It gets very inaccurate. Let's go over to GFS snow totals. So this is your mean accumulation between your GFS ensembles. And there's clearly 2 hotspots here for snow. One out here in Missouri, Kansas, southern Nebraska into extreme northern Oklahoma, and then a big hot spot over much of the northeastern United States into the mid-Atlantic states as well. And there is definitely a signal for snow potential out there in the Midwest as well, but not like a significant snowstorm for y'all out there in like Illinois, Indiana, and Western Ohio. This is just your normal GFS model, so not your mean accumulation. And you can see, I would say we're probably looking at a good snowstorm over much of Kansas into western Missouri. And then, of course, our at least 2 winter storms, one tomorrow and then one towards, I forgot exactly what day I said. I'm going to just go back here towards Tuesday night and Wednesday next week in the New England states. So really 2 primary areas for the best opportunity of heavy snow over the next week and a half or so. I also want to mention the severe weather potential as well. A lot of people have been talking about that over there on Twitter. And I'm going to pull this back because we're a little bit too far here. So we are looking at the potential for severe weather on Tuesday, February 11th. It does not look significant. It's not really something that could be like multiple tornadoes possible or anything notable. I really don't see much with it. Maybe the potential for a severe storm or 2 on the 11th here of February in Louisiana, southern Mississippi, into west central Alabama. And if we look at the trough here, you can see it's really just an enhanced belt of flow embedded in this very elongated, positively tilted trough ejection here. So shouldn't be anything significant on that day for Tuesday, the 11th of February. Now, the other day we're watching, which is towards the 13th of February, I believe, this one could be a little bit more notable because it's actually associated with a trough ejection. You can see your trough right in there, about a neutral to almost negative tilt trough. So that could favor more severe weather on Thursday. However, if we go down here, we are still 171 hours out on the GFS model, so that's a lot of time for things to change. But regardless, we're looking at a potential more substantial severe weather threat on Thursday. We'll see if it uptrends or downtrends the closer we get. And then most likely another potential substantial severe weather threat going into next weekend, Saturday, a little over a week from today. This is even further out, about 219 hours out, so a lot's going to change, but still, that is a decent signal. We've had a lot of uptrends with our signal on our ensembles and deterministic models today. So mainly going to be watching, what did I say, Thursday? Yeah, mainly going to be watching Thursday and Saturday next week for the potential of significant severe weather in the far south central United States. We'll still monitor this little enhanced area of jet stream on Tuesday evening. That would overlap out in like this area of the United States for severe potential. But overall, it should be more of a minimal, messy severe weather threat there, as it's not really associated with a good trough. Thank you, IC, for the $1 Canadian. Much appreciated. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for the donation. I want to enjoy the summit without snow, please. When did you say it was? I forgot exactly when you said it was. Welcome, Legacy, and Justin and Maury as well. What was the setup for yesterday's severe weather? Yeah, it was weird. It was a very, very large, positively tilted, elongated trough. So you can see here, there is really no indication of a notable severe weather threat in Tennessee or Kentucky for yesterday, which we did have quite the severe threat. It was just a large, positively tilted trough over Canada, not even in the U.S., really primarily over Canada into maybe Wisconsin, is where the main trough was located. And if we look here, I mean, it was barely a signal on the GFS model. You had a little bit of instability, a little bit of tornado ingredients, but overall, a very, very low-end threat is what we should have had. That's why the SPC only had a small 2% for yesterday's event. And I mean, you can see this is relatively zonal flow, so something happened in like the mesoscale features there. I wish I looked at that yesterday when we were live. I'm not even joking. It is probably this tiny little kink in the jet stream. It is probably that tiny little kink in the jet stream that caused our more notable tornado threat yesterday. I'm not even joking. That's probably what it was. I wonder, I don't know if I can look at that with any other model run. I bet that's what it was. I bet it was that tiniest little kink. Next Thursday through Sunday. Okay, let me go check. That's probably going to be a time frame we watch for severe weather in the southern US. Now, will it cause a snowstorm on the north side? Let's see what the GFS model has to say. So you said Thursday, right? Okay, that's Tuesday. I mean, that shows a little bit of flurries, but nothing significant for Thursday afternoon. And same goes for Saturday. You'll probably end up being just fine. Most likely not going to end up with a major snowstorm there. Wednesday night, though, does look a bit better. So Wednesday night, but like I said, you were saying Thursday. I think you'll still be good. If we look at the GFS, how does that drop so much snow, man? Okay, I might have to take that back. I'm looking at all the different runs we've had today, and it looks like the GFS here. We'll look at this here as well. Look at the trend. So this is yesterday's. Yesterday's, earlier this morning, this morning's, this afternoon, and then the newest one. It looks like it consistently is uptrending. What's the euro have to say? Okay, not that it matters at all, but let's see the Canadian. Canadian's very far north. Yeah, you definitely, especially if you're going like early, if you're leaving early Thursday morning, then this would be quite the issue. Let's look at snow depth here. Oh man, yeah. I'm gonna quickly go check the official Weather Prediction Center as well before I say. Oh, yep, you're cooked. You're cooked. There you go. Official Weather Prediction Center outlook. Very large area of heavy snow. That's Wednesday morning. Yeah, it looks like we're looking at a good snowstorm right over Kansas City. So probably not going to be the most fun time there. Hopefully they don't do many outdoor activities. Because it's going to be cold and snowy. Cold and snowy. I was going to go this year to the Chaser Summit, but honestly, it's just too far. I really want it to be in like Nashville or just somewhere in this area. If it's somewhere in this region here, I can go for it. But if it's like west of this area, I'm really not going to go any more west than this line for the Chaser Summit. I feel like eventually they ought to do one more east, right? Because not many people from the New England states are going to be traveling all the way down to Kansas City for the Chaser Summit. It's probably worth it, though. It most likely is worth it. It might be something I have to just save up for over the next year or so, and then just, no matter where it is, go. 2027? I can wait that long. I hope. Next year, it's probably going to be even further than Kansas City. Let me go... Let's see. Okay. So that's your official outlook from the Weather Prediction Center for Wednesday. And that's a more widespread snowstorm. This is for tomorrow night. We'll be covering it about this time tomorrow. This is for 7 p.m. tomorrow. And our heaviest snow will be entering western Massachusetts and western Connecticut at that time. But this one's going to be more widespread. You can see here, Tuesday, we're going to see a large area of light snow here across a very large chunk of the central United States into the northern mid-Atlantic states. And then Wednesday, that gets much more intense as we see more moisture be pulled northward with that blast of cooler air pushing more to the south. And it meets up pretty much right over Missouri, Kansas, maybe southern Iowa, maybe southeastern Nebraska. I do want to see the Canadian model run here and see what that shows. Okay, so that's just handling it very poorly. Got it. It's just saying, I don't know what the Canadian model run's doing there. It is handling Wednesday very poorly. Let me look at I want to look at the icon model run here on Tropical Tidbits as well as the Euro. Just to see if it's an outlier. It should be. The Euro Okay, not the right date. I was gonna say, wow, that flops. Yeah, there you go for Wednesday. It still shows not a it's not a significant snowstorm on the Euro model run, from what I can tell. I'll look at the snow totals. Um, I mean, 10 inches of snow is pretty dang significant. It looks so much weaker on Tropical Tidbits. Look at that. See how much weaker it looks over Kansas City? It looks like just light snow, but somehow it actually ends up dropping 10 inches of snow. So that's interesting. Let me go to the Icon model run. Icon also agrees with very heavy snow. Does this have... Yes, snow accumulation. Okay, that shows like probably 4 or 5 inches of snow. We can zoom in more here. Yeah, that shows like 3 to 4 inches of snow in the Icon model. And then the Euro model we already looked at showed 10 inches of snow. The GFS model run shows, what, 9, was it? Yeah, about 8 or 9. And then the Canadian model run is your only outlier here. Canadian is the only outlier, but look how much more widespread it is. Freaking everybody gets snow on this map. Let me change the scene really quick so I could show you. Like, literally, this whole map is covered in snow. The entire map is covered with snow here. That is because it's including sleet, too. So we'll continue to monitor the Canadian model run. It's the only outlier for Wednesday's snowstorm. And I do want to look in my neck of the woods here. Let me go back to College Dew page. We're going to go look in my neck of the woods. Because models have been kind of flip-flopping here. It looks like Virginia, Central Virginia, is probably going to see a major snowstorm. I'll only get like probably an inch, maybe at most 2 out of this. But up towards like Roanoke, Lynchburg, more northern Virginia, Central Virginia, probably going to end up with a major snowstorm out of this. What's the Canadians say here? And the Canadian is very underdoing on that as well. So we've got probably three good snowstorms here. 3 good snowstorms. The first one is going to be what we're covering tomorrow with this. Oh, gotta switch again. This snowstorm here in the New England states tomorrow, primarily after 6 p.m. Eastern time. Next winter storm will be on Tuesday out here in Virginia and the southern mid-Atlantic states. Again, on Tuesday. And then our next one will be on Wednesday. That's number 3 out here in much of the central United States. And then eventually moving into the New England states very early Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon on February 13th. And once we get to that point, once we finally get to Thursday or maybe even Friday, then we'll be able to discuss our next snowstorm being possible there on Saturday, February 15th. But we got to get closer before confidence increases at all with that snowstorm. Not very confident on that here. If we go one model more, you can see the whole system shifts to the south. So not very, very confident on that one next Saturday, week from tomorrow. But we will continue to monitor it. And like I said, probably going to see a small-scale severe weather threat Tuesday in Louisiana and Mississippi. Maybe a bit of a larger severe weather threat going into Wednesday and very early morning Thursday. And then possibly another severe weather threat on Saturday. News GFS goes a bit ham on that. Yeah, a much more negative tilt there. Interesting. That's a lot more of a... That's definitely a more significant setup for severe weather on your GFS model. Let's see. I'm going to pull a sounding on that. Yeah, that's a really good sounding right there. Hopefully that does not end up happening. I do want to quickly go check. I'll switch you guys over here. And I want to go get the CFS extended range. And we're going to look at the GFS, or GEFS rather, ensembles. So these are all your GEFS ensembles here. And man, what a signal. That's on the 12th of February and the 15th of February. We've got two good signals. So the 12th is going to be Wednesday. And then the, what did I say? I already forgot. The 15th is going to be Saturday. So that's two pretty good signals there for the potential of severe weather. And what was that? What date is Tuesday? I want to go look at that. Tuesday is the 11th. Is there any signal for that? Yeah, you can see there's tiny little signals here on the 11th of February, but overall nothing big. And then the 12th and the 13th, we have a signal. Probably, I'd say only one of those days are going to end up being a notable severe weather threat, but who knows? Maybe we'll have a multi-day severe threat there. And then again on the 15th. If I'm not mistaken, the 15th is the one that has the main trough. So on the 12th and the 13th, yeah, we really just get a large area of flow across much of the U.S. Not really much digging in the far southern U.S. You can see a little bit of these maybe short waves here. Yep, tiny little short waves that develop in Mississippi, Alabama on the 13th into the 14th. That could cause severe weather. And then, like I said, towards the 15th, you get that actual main trough ejection pulling in. I'm going to go check what the Storm Prediction Center says, because I'm going to be dead honest. I have not checked. There could have been a 15% already highlighted, and I wouldn't have known, because I didn't look today. Let's see. Fairly zonal flow across much of the continental United States will evolve into a broadly cyclonic flow as the western trough ejection begins to amplify by the middle portion of next week. This trough will be focusing for severe weather potential from pretty much the Gulf Coast area region by the later portion of next week. Another western trough ejection is forecasted by very late next week. Uncertainty in the timing and evolution of these features and trough ejection is high. However, model variability remains rather high for Tuesday through Thursday, while a general agreement between the European and GFS model is that an upper level trough will begin to amplify and a short wave may ultimately develop. Just going to kind of skim through the rest of this. Let's see here. The European is a bit of different timing, leading to better moisture, 60 to 70 degree dew points in the southern Gulf states. Some increase in severe weather potential will be possible as this approaches. At the present model guidance, it would suggest the greatest severe weather threat would exist on Wednesday and or Thursday, depending on a timing and evolution of the upper level trough. Confidence remains too low for severe weather probabilities to be issued in this outlook, but model trends will be continued to be monitored. By next Friday, okay, I'm not even going to read that. Uncertainty is too high for anything after Friday. Got it. So they're mainly talking about Thursday, which is the 13th. Well, depending on timing. They said depending on timing. It would be either Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah. Right now, the GFS has it being, actually Tuesday. Is it Tuesday or Wednesday? What did they say here? Let me go look. I'm going to skim through all of this. Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, they did say Wednesday or Thursday. I thought they did. The GFS actually has it being more Tuesday and Wednesday, both days. Has a small threat on Tuesday and a better threat on Wednesday. Okay, I see that. It actually has two good threats, both Wednesday and Thursday on the GFS here. Interesting. Wow, that trough looks completely different on the European model run in terms of strength. I see what they're talking about there. I can clearly see that. Look at the difference. Same time frame. We'll do Wednesday night. This is Wednesday night here. Same time frame for Wednesday night, and look at the different solutions there. That's your GFS and your Euro. Euro is much more intense with your positive tilt trough. And Canadian is very, very amplified. So amplified that it would actually push it mainly into the Gulf of Mexico. You can see we end up with a little bit of instability here, but it's so stinking amplified that it pushes the main ingredients back into the Gulf. I mean, look at that. Very, very large neutral tilt trough there. Partially positive, but more neutral. It's definitely more of a neutral tilt. And then the Canadian goes very, very far south for the potential threat on Saturday. Stupidly far south. Once again, so far south that it goes into the Gulf of Mexico. There's your European model run for instability. Most unstable instability, might I add, for Saturday. GFS is relatively in agreement with that. And back over to Wednesday. There's Wednesday, the GFS versus the Euro. Your Euro is more, I wouldn't really say amplified here. No, nope, that's exactly what I'd say. Yeah, definitely more amplified. I definitely would say more amplified. So that allows for your instability to be more of a sharper access point here. Not really... It doesn't really bring more substantial instability. For instance, the GFS brings 1,000, almost 2,000, about 1,400 instability into far southern Louisiana. And the European model run, I mean, it barely meets that. I mean, it's like very far southeastern Louisiana where it actually can get up to that point. So it doesn't really bring more quality moisture. It has a larger area of moisture and instability, but not necessarily a better area of moisture and instability. Yeah, there's her. Ooh. Look at that. European indeed brings a large sector of moisture. And it's pretty favorable. That's good moisture right there. And the GFS has that more coastal. But I wonder why the European underdoes intensity for instability, because I feel like with such good dew points there, we would be seeing probably almost into like 1,500 instability into much of Mississippi and Alabama if that actually did happen. Yeah, purple's only about 500 instability. Purple's generally between 100 to 500 instability. Then once you get into the blues, that's when you're into the thousands. That pink is more towards like 750 is where you pink. So purple's like 100 to 500. Pink is from 500 to about 1,000. And then blue is 1,000 to 1,900. And then 1,900 to all the way to 3,000 is green, multiple different shades of green, and then yellow is 3,000 to 4,000, then red is 4,000 to 5,000, then gray is 5,000 to 6,000 plus. At least on this color table. So I'm a little intrigued by the European not pulling better instability up there. See, look, it does it earlier in the day. Earlier in the day, it does bring those higher values up to 2,000 into portions of Louisiana, southeastern Texas, almost at 2,000 instability there. But then as you actually get into the evening hours, that instability dwindles for some reason. Which is really interesting. Your moisture still... Look at that. That is some really good moisture content. Low 70s there across much of your severe weather threat for Wednesday. And then your warm sector pushes widely to the northeast. So, in my opinion, the European model run is choosing more of a widespread area for lower severe weather threats, and the GFS is choosing a more regional area for a higher end severe weather threat for Wednesday. But neither one of them really are significant. I don't think we're going to be looking at significant severe weather Wednesday. The only day I'm watching for the potential, keyword is potential, of significant severe weather is Saturday, and that is so far out. But look at the European. Now that is some instability right there, man. Large area of 1,000 plus instability up into Arkansas with a pocket of 2 to 2,500 instability in Texas and Louisiana. That's some instability there. And then your GFS just kind of flops. Oh, nope. GFS is a little later. So the European model run has the best instability in the morning of Saturday. The GFS has the best instability into the evening hours of Saturday. So basically, that would probably result in the European model run being a early morning threat for severe weather, which most likely won't be as significant thanks to capping, messiness, and overall no daytime heating. Whereas the GFS would have it has a more significant severe setup. If we look at our ensembles, by the way, you can see our ensembles are in really good agreement that we're going to be seeing a large trough move across the U.S. So I'm very confident in the potential for severe weather on Saturday. And the only day I see being significant severe weather out of all these days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I only see Saturday potentially being significant thanks to it actually having a organized jet stream. Wednesday's a very elongated area of jet stream with maybe a short wave. Tuesday's just elongated, weak jet stream. And same goes for Thursday. Thursday does have a bit more of an amplified jet stream. You can see it here, but it's completely positive. It's fully positive, kind of like that severe threat. What was it, like a week ago we tracked? It's a fully positive trough. And then Saturday, you can see Saturday's threat would be more substantial. It's still, this is not the right run, that's why. There you go. There you go. Now you can see that negatively tilted trough. Right in here is a negative tilt. Very sharply negative tilt. That might even be a short wave, to be honest with you. Because you can see how this portion of the trough looks more positive, right? It looks like it's a more positive to neutral tilt here. And this part is definitely negative. You can very clearly tell that is a negative tilt trough right there. This is for Saturday. Nothing's happened. There ain't no severe weather tomorrow. Tomorrow's jet stream for your snowstorm looks like this. It's a very elongated area of flow. So, yep. Basically, like I said, we're probably going to end up with a small severe threat Tuesday. Probably Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All 3 days. We'll probably have a pretty small severe threat. Thursday might be able to uptrend enough, but I mean, it just doesn't look all that impressive. It does have a better jet stream. See how we're into the reds here? And the kind of, 50 to 60, or rather 60 to 70 knot jet stream here. So Thursday's looking a bit better for your jet stream compared to Tuesday and Wednesday. But it's still not a good digging trough. Compared to Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are all very, very low-end threats. We'll see what uptrends, though. That's what we're going to have to watch for, to see which one of these days uptrend the most. Okay, let me close that out. There we go. And again, I'll show you the ensembles here just to prove my point here. So that's Tuesday into Wednesday morning, where we have that positive tilt trough with an elongated positive tilt towards our potential severe weather threat out there in far southern Louisiana and Mississippi, right in here. Wednesday, keep much of the same. And then going into Thursday, you can see that jet stream tries to strengthen into Mississippi, Louisiana, and maybe southwestern Alabama, but it's still not anything notable. And then as we go into Saturday, you've got a much more digging trough here on your ensemble. Which typically ensembles 200 hours out, you're not going to see much confidence in a trough. Typically for our ensembles, they're going to be very very conservative, I guess you could say. It's just not often you see a good digging trough on your ensembles. 200 plus hours out, that is. Now, it's very common you see it within 180 hours out because that's not getting very far out on your ensembles. But then after about that 200 hour mark, normally most of your ensembles begin to disagree. But in this case, I mean, every single one of them have a digging trough going into Saturday. Although pretty much every last one of them is different intensity. But yep, I'll go over the snowstorm threat again since it's mainly supposed to be a snow stream. I'll go ahead and go over that again for anyone who may just be tuning in. We just got a snow squall warning out here in Wyoming for the next 14 minutes for Rawlins. Just wanted to mention that is a snow squall warning right there. But yeah, as of 6:45 p.m., most of these winter weather advisories are still out for New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware. A lot of these are going to stay winter weather advisories. We're still under winter storm watches across much of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont. Winter storm warnings are beginning to come out here in New York and Connecticut. Those will continue to push to the northeast with time. We'll probably see another bulk of winter storm warnings issued in about 2.5 hours in this area, and then the very coastal areas will be the last regions to get under those winter storm warnings because they will be the last area to start seeing snow very, very late tomorrow night. Also got those winter weather advisories across much of central southern Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, winter storm warnings in southern North Dakota. Advisories continue into north central South Dakota, southeastern Montana as well. Little area of winter weather advisors out here in Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri as well. Probably just for mainly a trace of snow. Actually, a trace of ice. A drizzle of ice is possible. That's really about it. Not really talking about snow there. Here's your official National Weather Service forecast for snowfall. Again, quite significant snowfall in much of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, southern New Hampshire, central southern Vermont, central New York. Heaviest area to see snow will be lake effect areas just north and northeast of Syracuse, just to the south of Watertown. Could see up to 18 inches of snowfall in that area. And then again, widespread 2 to 4, or rather widespread 4 to 6 inches of snow in much of Wisconsin and Minnesota, with some isolated areas in Wisconsin up to 8, isolated areas in Minnesota up to 8 as well, and then isolated areas in North Dakota up to 9 inches of snow being possible. I do want to go check the WSSI. I haven't checked their newest update, I believe. I don't know exactly when that updates, to be honest with you. I can't keep up with it. 1 p.m. I believe I did see this. So, we actually are looking at a major winter storm tomorrow. Technically, tomorrow's winter storm is considered major. because we have a pretty large area under the potential for major impacts out here. I think that's barely northwest of Boston. It actually includes portions of Boston here under major impacts. Now, if it was just spotted areas, like for instance, if we didn't have any of this red area and we just had like these little spots of major, personally, I don't consider that a major winter storm. It has to be a nice blob of major impacts for it to be considered a major winter storm, in my opinion. And you can see much of North Dakota, Minnesota. This area is all under really minor with isolated moderate impacts. So much of that is a level 1, and some areas could get under that level 2 impact area for tomorrow. Actually, hold on. This is your level 1 right here. Level 1, level 2, level 3. That few little orange dots you see there is your level 3. And then, of course, you get to level 4 out here. So you got your threat level 1, threat level 2, threat level 3, threat level 4. No extreme impacts. I don't think we'll see extreme impacts on this WSSI scale here. Then we can look at the probability of level 1 out of 5 impacts for the rest of our week here. So going into our snowstorm potential Tuesday, you can see the large area that has the opportunity for minor winter storm impacts. 2 main hotspots here: Kansas, southeastern Nebraska into Kansas City, northwestern Missouri. And then another hotspot out here in Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania into the night hours of Tuesday. Both of those areas, specifically the one in Virginia, will continue with probabilities increasing. And then once we get on Wednesday, Wednesday is going to be the biggest day. Wednesday morning, we'll probably have a winter storm ongoing somewhere in this region here. Somewhere in here, we'll have a winter storm ongoing Wednesday morning, with another 2 winter storms happening on that same day. Another one beginning out here in Kansas around 7 a.m. Wednesday morning. We should see this area here should decrease in potential. This area should increase in potential as I pull this out further. 1 p.m. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Wednesday, going into Thursday morning. Now this should begin to decrease. Sure does. Very early 7 a.m. Thursday morning. 1 p.m. Thursday morning continues to increase in the New England states as we go through Thursday afternoon. Thursday evening still continues. Friday morning, it still continues to increase up there in the New England states. And then eventually that exits off. And then this is where our little forecasting stops. It stops 168 hours out. Now, the probability for level 3 out of 4, or rather 3 out of 5 impacts here going into Wednesday, 7 a.m., Wednesday morning, you can see it is highest over here in portions of the Mid-Atlantic and New England states. Right in those primarily the major cities, like for instance Philadelphia, New York City, and Washington, D.C., under those greatest probabilities for a level 3 out of 5 impacts there. Which there's your probability scale, by the way. There's your different colors. I wish I could pull that out, but my screen's too zoomed in, so you can't actually see those as I pull it out. And then back out here in Kansas, I wonder how high that probability goes. So highest probability is right over Kansas City at 30%, 1 a.m. Thursday morning for a level 3 out of 5 in winter storm impacts there. But back out here, for instance, in like Philadelphia, you guys get up to a 50% chance of a level 3 out of 5 for winter storm impacts Wednesday morning. And I expect only, we have very low wind probabilities probably for a major winter storm here. Yep, very, very low wind probabilities, like a 30%, about a 20 to 30% chance in some areas here. And probably no chance in Kansas. Oh, actually, a 5 to 10% chance in portions of central Kansas for a level 4 out of 5 going into Wednesday night, Thursday morning. And extreme, I'd be pretty surprised if we have any probability for extreme anywhere. No, doesn't look like it. Yeah, I'd be very surprised if we had probability for major, or rather extreme impacts. I would be very surprised. Personally, I like this map the best. I should have changed that beforehand. There you go. So just to show you how widespread these snowstorms are going to be, this is, again, we're back to minor impacts. That's a level 2 out of 5 probability for very minor impacts. You could see just how large of an area is under that opportunity for minor winter storm impacts, which could be minor, could be literally anything from the tiniest bit of freezing rain to just some flurries. I mean, minor impacts are typically nothing notable, typically very, very low. However, and then again, we do have minor impacts out for much of central Minnesota, and this whole area is probably going to see between 4 to 6 inches of snow. So it just depends on where you are. For instance, this is a really good point, actually. Really good point here. Minor impacts, so a level 2 out of 5 for winter storm conditions in central Minnesota. That might actually get up to like a, say, for instance, what they're calling for, 4 to 6 inches of snow. In this area, that's a level 2 out of 5, but 4 to 6 inches of snow, like we saw out here in like Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, that area was under level 4s and 5s for that type of snowfall. So it just depends. If you're in a snow-prone area, the impacts will be greater for the lesser amount of snow. So, for instance, an inch, like I just went over, like an inch of snow in Minnesota, that's going to be like a level 1 out of 5. An inch of snow in New Orleans would probably be a 3 or a 4 out of 5. Probably the more south you go, the more prone you are to winter storm impacts, I believe. Because I feel like this area, you guys get snow very frequently, and you guys don't typically see crazy impacts. I got to end in 30 seconds. I appreciate you guys for tuning into this live stream. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I'll be live tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern for coverage on this winter storm. Thank you, mods, for mod and chat. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday night. Finally Friday. So once again, hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Stay safe, watch severe weather and the snowfall. Thank you again, mods, for mod chat. Goodbye. Stay safe, watch severe weather and the snowfall. Thank you, Moss, for Mon Chat. Have a great rest of your